G'day, Perry from Geelong Handmade. In the last video, I talked about the design process that I'm going through for the Flying V guitar. In this particular video, I'm going to go through some of the components that I've decided to use for this guitar. And one of the reasons that it's important is because the design process is going to be affected by what you choose to use for the hardware of your guitar. Even something simple as whether you're going to use humbucker style pickups or other types of pickups, what brand of pickup you're going to use. I don't think that, and I'm happy to be proven wrong, but I don't think that the 3D printed guitar is going to produce some of the high quality tone and resonance and so on that good guitarists are looking for. So I don't go for the top of the range components for these guitars. They're designed to be played but also be a bit of a showpiece. So some of the components that I've chosen have been readily available. These are Wilkinson humbuckers that I'm using. They're nice looking. I'm going for gold with this particular guitar, and you'll see why when we start going through the colours of what I'm producing with the Flying V. So, even though I'm going through the design process using Fusion 360, I've got to make sure that the hardware that I'm choosing actually fits into what I'm designing. There's no point printing something and then having to reprint it because the hardware turns up. So what I tend to do is I think about the hardware that I want to use, the colours, and then I order them, and then I leave the printing of the core pieces until last. So now I've actually printed the core pieces because I have all the components that I need. Bring them through, and these are the core pieces, and you'll find now that the pieces that I'm using will actually fit nicely into here, right? The wires have to go through and so on, whichever way they go. So it's something that you have to think about when you're actually going through the design process. I'll put links into what I've chosen to put into this guitar. For people that are interested, I don't think necessarily everyone's going to use the same thing as me. Some of the stuff just is sourced off Amazon. I don't have an affiliation with anyone in particular. I just choose partly on looks and partly on quality. Sometimes when you're going for a theme, like a gold hardware theme, you're a little bit more restricted in some of the parts that you can get. So these are the humbuckers I've decided to use, and then again, I've had to think about the surrounds for these, and then make sure that the surrounds for these are actually catered for with having the holes in the right spot. It's hard to see on the black, but having the holes in the right spot on the cores that these go into. So then you need to think about what sort of bridge it's going to go with those, whether you're going to have something which is going to go through the body. I've decided to go through the body and then use this sort of a bridge. What tuning machines you're going to use, I've gone with these because I've used them before and they seem okay. Again, not particularly not top end sort of quality, but actually quite good and good value for money. So that's why I go with some of these things. So even the knobs. Now I know that some 3D printing, enthusiasts will 3D print the knobs and they'll 3D print a lot of the plates and so on. That's fine. It depends on what sort of look you're going for. I like something that's a little bit more stylish, I suppose, rather than having plastic knobs. That's my choice. Same with the plate for the jack. This is the one that I chose originally, but as you'll see in coming videos, I've decided not to use this particular one. I've decided to go a different way. And I've got a bolt-on neck, so I need a neck plate to go with that. So I've decided to go with this particular one, and I've used these ones before. Now again, some of the guitars people will print going to have a bolt-on neck. You might even go with one of the ones that's got a curved sort of design here. That's going to change the design of your guitar and how you actually do it. There's a lot of choice in terms of hardware. And you'll see in the coming screens, I've sort of shown some of the options that you've got, but just Google's your friend in this particular case and just do a search and see what suits you. You can go for genuine, Fender, Gibson, even Epiphone equipment, and it'll cost you a little bit more, but the equipment may be a little better in terms of quality. That's totally up to you what you use. But just bear in mind that whatever you use, don't go printing, heavy core pieces of the guitar until you have everything, because even though you might have some measurements for what you're going to use, sometimes these things actually vary slightly when you receive them. In the early guitar, the very first one that I did, picture here, I actually used a complete kit. I bought a complete kit. It was the first one, so I thought, look, I just want everything provided. So it came with a body that I didn't end up using. It was a Telecaster style kit. It had everything in it, and that was good. But then I decided I wanted to try and do my own thing a little bit. So I stopped buying kits. You can buy loaded Strat guards. You can buy loaded Telecaster wiring knobs and so on, and it's some designers that I know will actually stick with the Telecaster style, because that means that their mounting hardware, their pickups, their plates and everything else is identical from design to design, so they can actually make it a little bit easier on themselves when they're designing. I like to try and mix things up a little bit. That makes more work for me, but I think I get a different variety of guitars. One of the other videos that I'll put up shortly is just a bit of a look at the different ones that I've made. I've got 5 so far. This is the 6th one that I'm working on at the time of filming. Now, the other thing too is the wiring side of it. I did mention preloaded, but what I decided to do in this particular case was mainly because of the design that I'm looking for with the Flying V. Decided to use 3 potentiometers and 1 switch with this particular design, and I found a Seymour Duncan design that is going to suit me for that. But what I wanted to do was actually buy all the components and have a go at wiring them up myself. So I found a kit that I bought. Again, I'll put a link in below if you're interested in the particular thing that I chose, but it came from an Australian organisation. Obviously I'm in Australia, you can pick that up from the way I speak, and it came with a whole series of things. And what I did was, you'll see a picture of the before and after, but what I did was I actually followed that diagram and made sure that these things would actually fit in here. So again, some things are going to be done before other things. It's, in my opinion, I don't think there's any value in wiring all this up before you have the areas in the guitar where you're going to actually position these things, because I've made sure that I haven't had excessive wire. I've made sure that I haven't had to put in anything that I don't need to, and more importantly, I've made sure that everything will fit and all the wires will be long enough and so on. So I've tried to keep it as compact as possible, but make sure that it still fits in with the design I'm looking for. So you'll look at this and go, he's got them in the wrong way. Yeah, sure, I have. But once I turn these pieces over and you see the cavity, you'll see that they'll just be they'll be inserted from the bottom, and they'll go in quite nicely and cleanly. I haven't joined this together yet. That'll be in the next video. I'll actually start assembling things. But I wanted to have all the wiring, all the electronics, all the components and everything ready to go, just in case there are any last minute tweaks. Now you'll find actually, as we go through, I have made some changes just on the basis of hardware when it's turned up. This particular one, this was the original jack that I was going to use, right? And you'll see that this cover would fit over here, and there's a hole there. Pretty hard to see on the black, but I've decided that due to the shape of the Flying V, I spent quite a bit of time actually redesigning this part, and this will actually now take a Strat type plate in here. So, and you might be going, oh no, you don't want to put a Strat type plate, it's it's a Gibson style guitar or whatever. Well, here's the good thing about it, people. It's your guitar, you can do whatever the hell you like with it, right? So, and I think that given that, when this is being used, it'll be sitting like that, in that direction, having the cable coming out, jack and cable coming out that way at the bottom, I think makes more sense than coming straight out here. That's just my opinion. So that's what I decided to do, and that's one of the things that I was able to do because I didn't assemble it all and have it all done until I had all the components. So again, a few points: get the components, make sure the design matches the components, choose the components up front, work out what theme you're going for, what look you're going for, decide whether you want to use ready-made off-the-shelf pieces or you want to do a little bit more yourself. I've decided to do some of the wiring myself in this. I don't have a particular view on whether that was better or worse. Sometimes, I know of one particular guitar maker who doesn't like soldering, doesn't solder, so he buys pre-made click and go pieces. Perfectly okay. It's totally up to you what you decide to use, but I just thought I'd give you a quick look at some of the components that I'm using, and let's see how this turns out when I actually put it together in the next video. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you want to see more. Bye.